These are 15 unexplainable DMT experiences on Joe Rogan Podcast. Episode number 1093. Joe Rogan with Owen Benjamin and Kurt Metzger explore DMT, alien geometry, consciousness, and terrifying beauty.
You're like, if this was like on a spaceship, you would think it would be like that. Look at that. If that was on a spaceship, etched into the side of the spaceship, you'd be like, holy shit, it's a fucking alien language. Look, I mean, I don't know what any of those things are. I don't know what one of those numbers is. I don't know what the fuck those words are, those letters. That's an alien language. That's, to me, almost more alien than a lot of Asian languages. That looks crazy.
Well, that's a reason to kind of doubt that somebody's translating it right. You know, like it's just like, oh, you looked at that gibberish and you saw that.
Well, scholars, you know, the whole thing with that is that these ancient languages, like all these stories came from these ancient languages. Like if you go way, way, way back to like ancient Sumer, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, there's all these Noah's Ark similarities. It's all there's a lot of stuff in all these ancient stories. It's all probably points to some real shit that happened.
For sure.
But along the way, just like what you're talking about with social justice warriors and how they behave like it's a religion, there's like a natural compulsion for people to be on a group and have that group have a very clear ideology.
People have to work their way up to atheism if they want it, because that's like almost a luxury, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I don't know how to just, but I'll tell you what, I will say the DMT shit, I did get like more of a, oh yeah, there's more than this.
There's something else there.
And it's crazy. Because when I read about that shit in high school. I read some article about that guy that is the big DMT guy,
Terrence McKenna. Yeah,
because I think he projects a lot of his own horseshit into it. But that stuff
that McKenna does, or the
McKenna just let me tell you, when I never felt a thing that felt so much like not making me hallucinate, but like it was taking away a hallucination.
Yes.
And that is there's something so terrifying about that, but it's also like, wow, that's great. Like, and you feel like there has to be, just based on the shit you would see, even if it's just shit in your head. You're like, why would that even be in my head?
It's entirely possible that whatever the fuck consciousness is can pass from this stage into another stage. And the only reason why I would hesitate to say that's exactly what happens is because there's no proof one way or another. But it's
all that pineal gland shit is not proven. They don't know that DMT comes in.
I can't handle anymore.
They do now. Yeah, they do now.
Really?
The Cottonwood Research Foundation, they did a series of tests with rats, and they proved that live rats have DMT produced by the pineal gland.
Really?
Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that humans do too, but they're pretty sure they do.
Did you like?
They also know that your lungs produce it and your liver produces it. That's a fact.
Really?
So your body's producing DMT, 100%.
Did you know that, or did you like those H.P. Lovecraft kind of horror stories?
Oh, I love those things.
And there's a movie made out of one of them. It's all about his pineal gland. He's taking something that makes his pineal gland swell up.
Which one is that? What movie is that?
It stars the guy from Reanimator. But it's not Reanimator.
I'm feeling it now. I kind of remember what you're talking about.
But I'll tell you the thing is DMT is the creep. I still don't think creepy, because it's totally worth doing. But the thing that's, whatever people say they meet entities, right? But I don't know if that shit is meeting entity. But I'll tell you the thing that just sticks with me, that I'm like, how in the fuck is that possible? Is the shapes that I could see, or I was well aware that they were a bit more than three-dimensional shapes. And it's so crazy to look at that and perceive it. And I'm like, how on earth could I perceive this shape? And when I can't, and you can't come back with it, like, you know what I mean?
Well, you know
like
how you see it though in someone's art. Like, have you ever seen Alex Gray's art?
Yeah,
you see
it's awesome.
No,
you haven't seen it.
No, what is that?
Pull up Alex Gray. He's a psychedelic artist. I mean, all of his stuff is basically tryptamine-based art.
And is it gonna not be horseshit? Because sometimes they're horseshit.
No. He's brilliant. His stuff's fucking.
Because that is something.
His stuff's fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, that thing.
It's for Tool.
Yeah, but that's one of them. But he draws the covers for Tool albums. There's a ton of them, like that one. That one in specific. That is DMT.
That's very DMT.
That is DMT.
Wow, that is hardcore DMT.
Hardcore DMT. When you do DMT, you see that. And you see that in a way where it's so much more spectacular than anything you ever see under normal consciousness.
Is your body there? Like, are you
it's not a body thing. You're not thinking of
but
your body. Your
yourself.
eyes are closed.
I mean, I'm myself.
Yeah, you're yourself.
Like, you look around?
You're yourself,
dude,
but
if you open your eyes,
vulnerable.
Here's what's crazy. So if you close your eyes, it's like they're open somewhere else. And then when you open your eyes, you see reality overlaid over this.
Tell me this one didn't influence the Egyptians. Click on the one your cursor's on.
No,
Jamie. Tell me that didn't influence the Egyptians.
What, this painting or the?
No, that these kind of tryptamine
well, did they have that?
Images.
Did they have DMT?
100%. Yeah, there was one of the things that John Anthony West did was he was going over the temple in Man.
Yeah.
The temple in Man is one of the structures. It's in Egypt. And it shows different parts of it are supposed to represent different corridors of the body, like different chakras of the body. And that there was some evidence that the eye of Horus is really the pineal gland.
Oh, really?
And that's what that symbol is. Like, see if Google pineal gland eye of Horus. They think that they're so similar in the way they're shaped. It's entirely possible that that's what it's a very alternative thing. But look how it looks, how the thing looks on the right, the actual pineal gland, and look at the eye on the left.
Whoa.
Yeah. See that wing off the side and the way it drops down right from the eyeball? Boy, that's fucking similar. It's entirely possible that they figured that out somewhere along the line, that through yogic breathing methods or some sort of psychedelic drugs they found that they were achieving a hallucinogenic state. And they were able to somehow or another isolate where that state is being initiated. And if it's being initiated endogenously by your body, like through psychedelic breathing, that's probably where it's being produced.
Now, listen, I don't want to sound like an Amy Schumer defender, but that looked coincidental to me.
Yeah, it could be.
Parallel thought.
It could be.
I think certain patterns repeat
close.
over and over again.
But that pattern is pretty fucking close. You might be right. It might be coincidental. But the fact that a straight line drops down right before the eye showed again, the straight line drops down right below the eye.
But they didn't know what the
other
fucking brain did in Egypt. That's the thing.
No, they did surgery on people in Egypt.
Yeah, but
Look at the thing on the right.
First of all, I thought Egypt thought the mind was in the heart, and that's why they pulled the useless brain out through the nose when they mummified you. Like, you're
How do we
telling
know
me
their intent? You know what I mean? Like,
because the embalming techniques.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean they didn't respect the
stuff
brain.
you kept. No, they didn't. Look.
Well, I'm
look
sure they didn't know everything about the human body the way
that's
people
what I'm
know
saying.
today.
Why would they attach significance to something in the brain if they don't think that's
because
where...
I think through psychedelic drugs. I think when they were doing these heavy psychedelic drugs, which, by the way, were absolutely being used by then by tons of cultures.
Well, that I could believe. But
tons
that I
of
could
cultures.
believe. Listen, because, dude, this is the thing where that really blew my mind because I was looking.
You don't want to even believe rumors. That's what's going on again.
No, did you ever look at somebody while you're on
won't be
DMT?
tricked
Like you
again.
smoke it?
No, I've always kept my eyes closed.
Okay, well, I did that 2 times, closed my eyes, and 1 time opened my eyes and looked at somebody, and they had 6 arms like a Hindu.
Yeah, somebody else
And
was just saying
I might have
this.
been telling you this at the comedy store.
You told me at the green room.
What
of
is
the belly
your
room.
time perception gets broken down, and that's the craziness. And so then motion looks like sick,
like
but it,
like Shiva.
it looked like a Hindu thing, and I'm like,
Yeah,
wow. I
that's
imagine
where it
being on that
comes from.
stuff, and you see
Yeah.
something. I mean, that looked to me so much like a vision from DMT.
Yeah.
Those 6-arm kind of gods.
Well, dude, I collect that kind of art, like Buddhas and shit like that, like this kind of shit, because I saw this. I saw this image, this exact image. I mean, this has a third eye and everything. A sculptor made this for me. I don't remember homeboy's name. Yeah, I wish I could remember it right now, but I don't. But yeah, sculptor made that for me based on this vision that I had high on DMT. I saw an infinite number of those.
Really?
I saw one hovering here, and then in every direction out from him, there was an infinite number of those, and they were all hovering and vibrating around me.
So it's like fractal. Is it like fractal?
Oh, it's 100% fractal.
What do you
it's
think?
geometric.
What do you think? What do you think? Having done it, like, what do you think? Like, what do you think now of DMT after? You know, I think I saw just a couple things, but I don't know how long ago they were of you talking about it with people. But what's your opinion of it now? As like, you know, what you're seeing?
Well, it could be anything. I mean, it definitely could be some sort of an insane hijacking of your sensory nervous system, and it produces this spectacular psychedelic effect that's so profound, this hallucinogenic effect that's so profound that it literally is like a transcendent experience and changes your life. It's totally
felt
possible.
like that to me.
It's totally possible that it's just a chemical thing. What's also possible possible is that life itself, that whatever the fuck life is, and especially whatever the fuck intelligent life is not understood. What consciousness is not understood. And this idea that things can only exist in this realm, that's not proven. Also the fact that when those quantum physicist guys start breaking down the nature of reality and they come up with, I don't know how the fuck they do this, I'm just talking out of my ass, but they come up with the idea that there's 11 dimensions.
Right.
And that they literally, I mean, and this is all changing and constantly evolving and moving, and they're constantly adding to this. It is entirely possible that there's a bunch of other shit that's around us all the time that's just not here, and we don't have access to it. And when you do DMT, whomp, you go into that other place.
That's what's so fucking unsettling, dude. It's like, it's not like you're going, it's like the shit's here.
Well,
and
that's why you, as a skeptic, it's very important to hear from you. Like a guy like you.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, because I drew a shitty diagram of it. But this is what I felt, this is what it feels like if you ever do it. Like, this little point, let's say this little point is you. This is what I felt like. And these lines I drew, that's like space. And you're this little point that gets stabbed into space-time. And all this shit, this is all the shit that makes you. Like, it forms a point. It's like closing your eyes and looking at all of this shit that's
being cross-section of your being.
Like, everything being focused into making, if you could, like, just reverse look at it,
dude,
it feels like that.
I always feel like it's lessons. I always feel like it's lessons. I always feel like it's time to go to school. Sit down. Here's what's going on. One of the last ones, more profound ones, was a bunch of jesters that were all giving me the finger.
Really?
They were all circling around me like, give me the finger.
They're like, who named you?
That was Twitter.
Police?
No, you know
what?
I'm
trying to teach you about Twitter.
It's teaching if you're tense, and if you're
reacting
reacting negatively to this jester giving you the finger, like how do you feel of yourself? Are you in a constant defensive mode? And then when I sort of relaxed myself, they started wagging their finger back and forth like, yep, that's it.
That's cool.
It was very, very strange. These things that you see but you can't define are constantly changing. So if you try to like say, oh, it looked like a jester, it probably did for a few seconds. For a few seconds, it looked like a jester, and then it imploded and became stars, and then it sucked in and became geometric patterns, and then became neon-colored worms that were making love to each other in a giant infinite bundle of yarn. Like, it becomes weirder and weirder shit all the time.
Is it hard to remember when you're done?
It's almost impossible. Even me saying I'm kind of full of shit. I'm kind of full of shit because I don't totally remember what I saw. I remember what I remember to write down. I remember what I repeated, so I'm like going back on like my repeated versions of what I saw. But I remember like flashes of the intense, profound nature of the experience.
Is there emotions to it? Like it's unraveling.
Dude. And when I came out of it the first time, this was on New Year's the first time I did it. And I fucking, I guess I was like weeping. But when I came out of it, because you just suddenly are awake, and I had like, but I was so out of it, it was like not, I went from weeping to like, oh, hey, what's up? Like, and because I'd been staring at some crazy thing that would like look so beautiful to me. But it was like that, it was like coming out of a dream, I guess, almost.
What's that McKenna quote that I think what I'd be scared of is unearned wisdom? I think McKenna said something like, be wary of unearned wisdom, where I don't know if I can handle looking at something that intense.
I was really in a low feeling state when I did it, and I didn't give a fuck, so I wanted to do it.
You pick up the slack. You know, that unearned wisdom thing, I think I know what he's saying, and I think there's a real problem with people acting profound when they just learned something an hour ago.
Are you saying I'm not a shaman?
No. But
I'm not a qualified shaman
There's
now?
a thing that people enjoy doing, and it's like jizzing out their knowledge.
Yeah.
You know? And a lot of that is unearned knowledge. Like, there's a lot of people that don't really have a full, including me. I've done it many times.
My mind balls are so full.
Not having a full understanding of the topic at hand.
Life
and
jizz.
You just jizz it out.
Yeah,
jizz it, man.
But look, for sure, you learn a lot about yourself when you do those experiences. I learned a lot about myself. Learned a lot about how I interact with people. I saw negative thoughts like expressed as like this dark green and black, like twisted sort of pattern. And then when my thoughts went positive, it blossomed like the most beautiful flowers you can imagine. It was crazy. It was literally a lesson in thinking toxically. And then, and this is probably like 2008-ish, somewhere around then. That was this particular experience that literally changed who I am. Literally changed how I talk to people, literally changed how I feel about people.
Yeah.
Watching a negative thought being expressed as this dark pattern, and then the positive thought, I just let it go like, oh, I see, I'm doing it to myself, and then boom.
Right, yeah.
And then you just relax and enjoy, like, this is so beautiful. And because you're looking at something so beautiful, that feeling of seeing beauty makes it more beautiful, and it's just getting more, and like tears are rolling down my eyes. It was a stunning experience.
Dude, honest to God, it's easier to do that now besides that, but I know what you mean. Like,
I wish I could remember seeing
it,
though. I remember it happened, and I remember the dark green and black, but I remember so little of what I actually saw. It's a total recreation in my mind.
Yeah.
which is a real problem with memory. It's a real problem with regular memory. Forget about something as spectacularly unique and odd as a psychedelic experience, but just regular memory. I mean, I try to think of what I did yesterday. I know what I did.
Did you ever get the information like the last time I did it? This is what really blew me away, is because my girlfriend was saying I won't forget. And by the way, I forgot immediately.
It's like a joke. When you think of a joke, you have to write it down.
You're supposed to talk into a microphone, like talk into a recorder, like right away when you get out, and then try to decipher that.
Mostly I feel like I can't talk. I mean, usually I feel like I can't talk. But
as soon as you can, though, what you should do is just use the voice app on your phone, and as soon as you can talk, hit record and just ramble. First of all, you're going to go, oh my God, I'm a fucking moron. Because it's going to sound, if you're sober, it's going to sound stupid.
That's my favorite. Like ayahuasca, it's an inner journey and better. Like, on the inside. On the outside, you're just puking and projectile shit. Like, gibbering like an idiot.
That's a metaphor for Twitter.
Episode number 1227. Mike Tyson talks DMT visions, ego death, and becoming comfortable with dying.
What kind of music you listening to?
I listen to everything, man. I do. I listen to a lot of classic rock for whatever reason. But I've been listening to a lot of Kanye West over the last few weeks.
Tell me, what is he talking about?
Kanye?
Yeah.
Well, he's talking about a lot of crazy shit. He actually talked about DMT in one of his recent songs.
Really? You think he did that before?
I think he did.
Oh, man.
Well, I know he's friends with Kid Cudi. Mm-hmm. Kid Cudi's been in here, and Kid Cudi's had some psychedelic experiences.
Yeah. Once you go there, it's just you don't want to do nothing else again.
Well, it puts it all in the perspective. It lets you see that as much as this thing seems to be important, this is all temporary, and you're a part of forever.
And it also allows you to become comfortable with death. Yeah.
Yeah, you know who said that? Larry Hagman. Remember that guy Dallas?
Yeah.
From JR
from Dallas.
He did an interview with CNN once.
And I Dream of Jeannie as well.
Yeah, that's right. He sprung it on him on CNN once. He was talking about how he did acid. He took a big dose of acid, and he's never worried about death ever again. That it just alleviated his worry about passing on.
That's wild. It's just because I felt the same way. And I said, wow, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. I think DMT even more specifically because they think
why does it affect the mind that way? What causes it to affect the mind that way?
They don't totally know.
That it make it visionate. You visualize everything.
They don't totally know. They know that your brain makes it. They know that your body makes it, they should say. They know that it's produced in your liver and their lungs, and there's some evidence now because they found it in rats that the pineal gland produces it, which is that's the third eye of Eastern mysticism. That gland actually in rats, they've proven, produces DMT, and they think it does so in people too.
Once I did, I wanted to do it again and again and again. And they said, you shouldn't do it too much, Mike. But I was like, man, I got to, grasp what's going on here. Why am I feeling this? Why did this, in a weird way, humbled you?
I don't think you should listen to the people who say you shouldn't do it too much. I think you should do it as much as you want.
That's what I agree with, too.
Yeah.
I agree.
You could handle it. If you could handle being Mike Tyson, you can handle doing DMT a few times.
DMT, that's where I think I'm going. I think I'm going in that direction.
Well, I mean, it's not something you should do all day, every day, but you can learn a lot from it. It's very beneficial and very strange that it's illegal. It's illegal.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Even though, Terrence McKenna had a joke about it because your body's making it, so everybody's holding. We all have it. It's illegal, but it's like making blood illegal. Everybody has it.
Isn't it wild when they go to Sonora Desert when they find these toads?
Yeah. Yeah, I've never experienced it from the toad. I've only
experienced it on
experienced
television.
With the way they extract it?
Yeah, they grab them and they squeeze it. They bust his pimples and they bust it on the glass of mirror and then they take it off and they let it harden.
Yeah, they let it dry in the sun. They scrape it off with a razor blade.
Yes.
I've only had it synthetically made in a laboratory. You used to be able to buy it online. You used to be able to buy a fucking can of it, like this big, enough to get a whole state high. You just buy it online. It was totally legal.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's bizarre that it's illegal.
Well, they would say not for human consumption. Well, I don't know what the fuck you're doing with it if you're not using it for human consumption. But you used to be able to buy it.
I've never felt anything like that before.
No, nothing like that.
Makes me not want to do anything. Nothing else can supersede that.
How long ago did it happen?
I don't know, around 2 months ago.
Yeah. Did you write down what happened after it happened, or did you record it?
No, I wish I did.
Yeah.
I wish I did.
Yeah, me too. If it goes away like a dream, right?
It comes off, you're so scared. It starts off like this to me, like, no, yeah! That's how fast stuff. No, I don't want to
Yeah.
be this fast stuff. I said, hey, I
Yeah.
want this to stop now. And the guy was like, hey, you're on the ride. And I'm like, no, yeah. I love it. I
Yeah.
love you. I love you. I love you.
Yeah, you love everybody.
Yeah, so spazzed out.
Yeah. Did you have a hard time letting go?
At the beginning, I was fighting it. I was saying, stop. I wanted to stop now. Just jump. Stop this shit now. Stop. And the guy was like, hey, the show was like, I can't do it. You got to go for the ride, dude. And it was like, oh, man. It's like I'm dying. Things are going on my face. I'm seeing the Aztec things. I'm seeing toads. I'm just seeing weird animals and things just flying. It's like another chamber. It's boom, flashing. You're like, boom.
Yeah.
And you gone. It's like a rocket. You taking off. Boom.
Yeah, it's beyond your imagination.
Yeah, it's inconceivable. Can't even explain it to no one.
Well, I'm hoping that they start with psilocybin because I know MAPS, they're doing some great work with that, trying to get these things legalized, especially they're doing MDMA studies with veterans and people with PTSD, and they're having great results. They're moving into psilocybin. They would love to get psilocybin legal, and it's up for ballot. I think it was in Oregon. Is that where it is? It's up for. I think Oregon is up for legalization this year, and it may be eventually in California as well. They may.
How you
put it
think
up
they're
for
gonna do with that?
legalization. It should be legal. Doesn't kill anybody. It should be. It's not a bad thing if they regulate it. If they make it for therapeutic use and just set up centers where experts can show. But they shouldn't make it prohibitive for people to own it or even grow their own. It's not a bad idea to set up places where people can do it under a professional's care, a shaman's care, a physician's care. That's a good idea. But making it illegal is a bad idea because it helps a lot of people. You know, people think of it as a party drug. They think you're going to do mushrooms and freak out and go fucking run around naked and, what's on mushrooms?
I used to do mushrooms. I love mushrooms. I love mushrooms.
Yeah. Well, psilocybin and DMT are very closely related chemically. All those really potent psychedelic drugs are very closely related. They all break down in some similar path inside your brain and give you that weird ego-dissolving experience. You know, that's one thing.
Yeah,
they all
most
have.
of the
Episode 989. Joe Rogan talks to Dorian Yates about his experiences with DMT and ayahuasca.
Now, speaking of smoking good stuff, how did you find out about DMT and how did you get involved? Because I read something about you having these positive DMT experiences. I'm like, wow, how strange is it reading about, you know, this massive bodybuilder now getting into psychedelic drugs
Well,
and speaking openly about
yeah,
it.
first time I did ayahuasca was in Brazil. I met my wife who was outside. She lived in Brazil, so we went out to the Amazon. But this was like 10 years ago, you know? So people weren't really, not like now, people know what ayahuasca is because there's so much information out there, yourself talking about it, I'm talking about it. It's a ton of stuff on the internet. Wasn't so much then, but I heard about it. And I heard about it's this life-changing experience and all that stuff. So we were out in Brazil, and we got this guide, and I asked him for ayahuasca, and he's like, bring me these 2 bottles of brown stuff. I don't even know to this day if it was really ayahuasca, but I just got really sick and didn't see any great revelations apart from I got this thing in my head, stop poisoning yourself. But the night before, I'd been out drinking, getting drunk and everything. You know, that was my experience with that. Then a friend of mine out here in California, actually, I knew about DMT. I used to live in Amsterdam, and like I read the DMT spirit molecule and all that stuff, so I knew about it, but I had no idea to get this stuff or where you can get it from and everything. So a friend of mine got it, and that was my, you know, first experience of like leaving the room, so to speak, and
leaving the planet.
And then since then, I had some very positive ayahuasca experiences, but with a shaman and doing properly and preparing like 5 days of, you know, restricted diet and no sex and all these kind of things you do to prepare and also afterwards. So DMT is like blow the fucking doors off your perception and realize that this world we're in is like, you know, it's nothing, it's just a little illusion, right? There's so much more outside of it. So there was that, but with the DMT, I think it's like you got a computer with like so much storage space, and you got it's like 1,000 times more than you can retain. So you see all this stuff, and while you're there, you're like, ha ha ha, I know everything. Oh yes. But when you come back, how much of it can you hold on to? You know.
Right.
So you've seen it, and that's like makes you look at everything differently. But the ayahuasca is over hours, so I feel like from the ayahuasca I actually benefited more. It was like going through therapy or something because it was much slower and I could digest it, you know.
Right.
So, but doing it with the shaman, I did it with a guy called Guillermo Avarello, and he's one of the top guys in the world from Peru. He comes to Spain a couple of times a year, so I did it with him. And yeah, it's probably, I don't know, it's probably 2 or 3 years since I did DMT, because I sat down one day and I said, right, actually I fasted for 2 days before, so I'd be like just in the zone. And I said, right, I'm going to sit down. I got my DMT here. I got my vaporizer here. I'm going to fucking smoke as much DMT as I possibly can till I till I go on and pass out. So I had that experience, and since then I don't feel any need to do it. I don't think there's anything more I can take from it, you know?
I've had many people tell me the same thing. They had such a profound breakthrough experience that they're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
I had a crazy one in around 2008 or 9 or something like that, and I took a long time off. I didn't do it again till like 5 years later, maybe.
Yeah, and it's pretty
maybe
intense, man. I mean, the ayahuasca is nice because it comes in nice and subtle, and you go through hours of this thing. But DMT is like,
last time I did DMT,
and you feel very anxious when you like it's almost like you're leaving your body, and you're like, no, I don't want to. And, you know?
Yeah.
So you get that bit of anxiety.
But once you go,
it's cool, yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. But
have you done it more than one time in a day? Like multiple times in a night?
No, I just, just blasted it as far as I could go, and that was it.
I've done it several times over the course of a few hours. And, you're more comfortable letting go that way in some sort of a strange way, but it never gets less alien.
Well, we had I'm not going to mention his name. I don't know his name, but we had an experience, me and my friend, a few months ago that I've never seen before, because usually people take DMT, they're very calm and sit in the chair and you go off and you might start laughing. But, you don't move much, right? And this guy, he just, freaked out. And it wasn't for 10 minutes, but for half an hour. My friend was a former MMA fighter. He used to fight with shamrocks. So he knew wrestling techniques, so he had to hold this guy on the floor to stop him from hurting himself, because he was totally freaking out. So I could see the guy was going through something traumatic from the past. So today I messaged him. I was like, hey, did you ever find out what was that, Because he said, yeah, it was from his birth.
What?
It was from his birth. When he was born, he had the cord around his neck.
Oh, Jesus.
And he went back and he relived this, and so that had been in the back of his mind all his life. Subconscious has a huge effect on us, but we don't know it's there. So now he opened that box and let it out, and it's gone now,
Wow.
So it can be therapeutic. Yeah, I thought this guy is like, wow, he's going to be. But when he came back, he was like, hey. I'm like, you good? He's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, do you know what just happened? He's like, no. I said, good thing we filmed it then, man. Go home and watch this.
I had a friend who freaked out, too. He freaked out. He threw up, took his shirt off, was running around saying a bunch of crazy shit. And then after he came down, we calmed him down. It took like 10, 15 minutes. He goes, okay, well, obviously I'm a work in progress. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that statement.
But did he know what it was that was troubling him so much?
No. Well, he had a bad childhood, for sure.
Well, everything is most of our shit is from there, right?
Yeah.
From the developing years.
No, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's, and especially real traumatic ones, abuse, being beaten by his stepdad, and a bunch of fucked up shit that was just haunting him.
But it helps you to come to terms with that, especially the ayahuasca, because it's longer. I felt like the first time I did ayahuasca properly with a shaman, I felt like I was a different person the next day. I felt it was like I'd done 20 years of fucking therapy or something.
Yeah.
And just a lot of stuff I'd worked out in my mind. I could even see other people's point of view on things and that I couldn't see before. And
that's huge, right? Seeing other people's point of view, because especially a guy like you who's so determined and goal-oriented and just cut out all the bullshit and get it done.
Yeah, it can be a little insensitive to other people's feelings around it, because you're just like, whoa, I'm in this nothing, keep out my way.
That's a male thing in particular anyway, right? And then add
it's like
steroids on top of that.
Yeah.
And bodybuilding and intensity and competition, and then being the best, arguably the best ever, and just fucking grinding every day.
Well, my son said to me a couple of weeks ago, he's like, Dad, you don't see yourself as other people see you. I said, what do you mean? He said, I remember when I was a kid, first of all, the size, you know, it was fucking huge, but it's your persona. You might have said to me something very like normal, like, you know, whatever, what are you doing with a dog? Like just something normal. And he said, and I'd be like, oh, because just your presence made me feel like that, you know?
Right. That's got to be weird when you're a little tiny kid and your dad's a gorilla.
Yeah. I remember he did he did kickboxing, right? So he got his black belt when he was about 11 or something like that. And that was my thing. I used to take him to kickboxing and pick him up. And he's like, Dad, can you wait outside? I'm like, what do you mean? You don't want me to come in? And like, can you just wait outside? I'm like, you don't want me to come? It's like, yeah, but everyone's like freaking out and looking at you. And
Well, it's got to be nice
so
now.
I'm like,
to
no,
be
I'm fucking coming inside, man.
semi-anonymous in crowds now. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, unless someone's a hardcore bodybuilding fan.
Well, there's the thing. Not necessarily slow because of the interviews I did on London Real. And I talked about ayahuasca and DMT and spirituality and reality and all this stuff. I get so many people coming up to me like they're not from the gym. I get housewives, young kids. Like it's almost like you're the guy from London Real. You're the guy that, you know. So I get a whole bunch of other people that appreciate what I'm saying about spirituality, about reality and life. And they're like, fuck, man, what you said that really helped me. And I got so many letters, emails and stuff. People, you know, like they just took something away from what I was saying. So, I mean, that's really why I do these interviews. It's just trying to help the whole general vibe and the, you know, put it out there. And there's a whole consciousness awakening, a revolution going on now. And I'm just want to push some dominoes, you know, and like create that effect. And then, you know, if you touch one person, they touch somebody else. And it's like, you know, the butterfly wings flap here and the other side of the world is a, you know,
yeah, it really
tsunami or something.
It does seem to be working in that regard, right?
It is the time, man. It's the time. There's so many people that are more aware now than like 20 years ago.
Isn't it kind of like, I mean, there's parallels to bodybuilding, right? That when Arnold first started doing it, there was very little information, hardly, and you guys got to see what they did and build upon that, and more information came out. And now, because of the internet, there's so much information,
almost too much information.
People
now
are aware more of what it's all about. Well, with psychedelics, I mean, 20, 30 years ago, there's so much ignorance and so little understanding. And also so little understanding, especially when it comes to something as extreme as DMT. There's still a giant percentage of our population doesn't even know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, they should all take it, especially the fucking politicians. I like to get those politicians, man, and fucking get them in a room and force them to take DMT and then see how they're going to behave afterwards. Yeah. How they're going to look at the world and treat people after they had that experience. I don't think you can be... you know, so self-centered and unfeeling as most of them are after you've had that experience.
I think that any breakthrough psychedelic experience, whether it's psilocybin or LSD or DMT, they're
all pretty much, you know,
ego dissolving,
different road to the same place. You know.
Well, Terence McKenna used to say that DMT is the center of the mandala. The way I describe DMT is it's like mushrooms times 1,000,000 plus aliens.
Yeah.
And that it seems so titanically bizarre that there's like, I've tried to describe it to people, but I always say, look, I'm going to tell.
You can't
I'm
really
gonna,
do it, man.
Yeah, I'm going to give you some bullshit words.
Yeah, you can't really do it because you can't.
There's no way.
We don't have the words
right
to put it into words. You know, you can attempt to. I went to this place. Well, it's not a place, but I don't have the word for it.
The place is everywhere.
Yeah, it's like, and there's colors, there's numbers, there's shapes, and
people. Things,
and there's like
gestures.
Everything is all one fucking thing. And what I noticed is like my breath was connected to it. I don't know how it happened, but I was in the trip and I went like that, and the whole thing moved. I was like, really? Let me try this then. And then the whole thing moved, and then there was music playing, and music was part of the thing as well. Like the thing. I don't even know what to call it. The thing, the place. I don't have a word, you know.
We played a bunch of these shaman Icaros, and the shaman Icaro. This is the last time I did it, and the shaman Icaros like literally made the DMT images dance. Yeah, like they had figured out a way with these sounds and songs to integrate these beats into DMT trips, and as you would take these trips, these shamans had figured out the right sounds and songs and how to make the trip more intense and sort of guide it in a strange way.
Well, that's what I had with the shaman with the ayahuasca. He comes around and he sings these acaros, and then it's like changes tone, and then it goes deeper bass in his chest, and it's like it becomes part of it, you know. And I was even moving involuntarily. My arms was going up, my body was moving, and it's like, I'm not doing this. I don't even know how it's happening. It's like somebody's picking my arms up and moving. I was, you know, started dancing around with this, becoming part of this rhythm.
Wow. I had experience once, one of the first times I ever did DMT, where I saw the difference between negative and positive thinking. Like, I started thinking negative, and there was all this like black and dark green and like these threatening shapes and colors, and then something recognized what was going on in my brain, that these shapes and images were connected to negative thinking, and I relaxed, and the shapes kind of like settled down, and then I started thinking positive. Like, I heard all these like expressions of love, but like you're hearing it but you're not really hearing it. It's like the thoughts are getting into your head, like someone's trying to say it without using words. And then I started thinking positive, and from those dark images blossomed these like beautiful like geometric flowers and colors and impossibly spectacularly beautiful images. And I was like, oh, and I recognized in my mind there's an actual thing that happens when you think negatively, and an actual, it's not just some sort of an abstract
everything.
idea.
You affect the program.
Yes.
You're in a program, and your thoughts, the program's coming towards you, and your thoughts are going, and it's interacting with the program, you know?
And that's why conflict, like interpersonal conflict between people, can be so negative. It's not just as simple as you and some person getting into an argument. It's those dark images and those negative forces. It becomes a part of your system.
I had exactly the same thing. So, but it was almost like a tunnel. I was in this tunnel, and it was the same thing. It was like, like all these images around and scary and everything. And I was like, instinctively, I knew to be very relaxed.
Yeah.
And I started laughing like, fuck you. You're not even real. You're not even real. And when I said that, it went away, and I just got this thing that came into my head. You've just been in the valley, what's it called? The valley of the shadow of death. It's in the Lord's Prayer, I think. Yeah, though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you should fear no evil, because God's by the side.
Right.
I vaguely remember it from school or something. But I got this thing that you were there, and you're in the valley of the shadow of death, and because you like, fuck you, like, oh, it's not even real. It just disappeared, and then I went to somewhere really nice.
Wow. Yeah, I just wonder how much is real. You know, it's such a hippie thing to say. Like, how much is real? I don't know. You know, I've been having these thoughts a lot lately. Like, how much of life do you manifest? How much of life is real? Because it's such a bullshit thing to think. It's such a hippie thing to think. And so many people that say that are so annoying.
Yeah, but scientists are saying the same thing now.
Yeah, well,
Quantum physicists are saying, what was it? I think his name's Professor Gates. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Professor Gates, and he said that they've broken down reality into the smallest level, and it's a computer code.
Yes, I've seen that guy.
Not only is it a computer code, it's a specific computer code of zeros and ones, and it was invented in the 1940s by somebody.
Yeah, I've seen that guy being interviewed. We actually talked about it with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I tried to get him to sort of break it down and explain. But what it is essentially that when you break reality down to the smallest level, it mimics a self-correcting computer code. Not just a computer code, but a computer code that's self-correcting, which is right there. I just said a bunch of noises that I don't even understand. Yeah. You know, it's gone beyond my.
But now you're getting spirituality and science.
Right.
It's coming together because the scientists are saying what spiritual masters. Well, they're already telling us that we live in an illusion and everything is inside, not outside. They were saying that thousands of years ago.
But now some of it is real. Like, you have to work hard or you don't get results.
Yeah.
Right? Like, your hard, fast, pragmatic reality of being the best bodybuilder in the world, it revolves around actual work, real results.
In this reality, in this program.
But also
you need to do physical stuff,
probably there was a lot of mental shit going on there too.
Absolutely.
The work was being done, but also there was probably a lot
thoughts
of
all day. I mean, that's all I
Yeah.
thought about, like
Yeah.
literally all fucking day. So, you know, I had to have the physical goods to make it happen. I could dream about being a basketball player all day. Probably wouldn't help me because I'm not built to be a basketball player. But those thoughts were just going out all the time. And I was a kid in Birmingham, industrial city in England, and I was thinking, I'm going to go to America and I'm going to be a bodybuilder. And everyone around me was like, the fuck you talking about? So yeah, there was those thoughts all the time. So I think it's like a holographic program we're in, but we influence it, we interact with it, with our thoughts. That's kind of where I'm getting at now.
yes, in some way.
MMA Show 90. Joe Rogan, Rashad Evans compared DMT awakenings, visions, ego, and spiritual clarity.
Everybody has their own awakening, you know, and if some people may not have that in this life, you know,
Yeah.
they may never have that awakening, but
Some people are burdened by their environment as well, right? There's too much
Yes.
stress and anxiety, and
where you can't even see
yeah,
it.
sometimes you don't have space.
And that's why I even give a nod to the psychedelics in that respect. When if you don't have the ability to have that mental space, there is something that can help have you have that, you know, that insight that somebody who was doing all the meditation, because all you really need to do is feel it to understand why you need to do it.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
why I'm lucky that I was able to feel it. So now it's nothing for me to meditate and go through all these, you know, spiritual practices, because I know that is something real. But beforehand, I was like, man, that shit is not real. Like, I don't believe that, man. Like,
Right,
oh yeah,
right.
you feeling energy, huh? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I used to be one of those guys, but until I went through it, I'm just like, you know,
Yeah.
you don't have that understanding.
Well, it's hard to see the result. You kind of have to trust the process. It's hard to see the result before you've experienced it. You kind of have to trust the process, go through it. Then something for me, a big one is yoga. I'm a big believer in yoga, and not just for physical reasons, for mental reasons. It helps me tremendously. And when I don't do it, I'm good. Like, legitimately, I should do yoga twice a week, because I'm really only good for about 3 days after yoga class. Like, I need to just really balance out. If I was doing it 3 times a week, there's not a thing in the world that could fuck with me.
Yeah.
And mentally, I'd be like, I'm fine. Everything will be fine.
I've done the Bikram's yoga, and that shit was just so hot. I really couldn't focus.
That's the key, though.
I know, but
That's it gets you
I
through.
wasn't where I am right now.
You should do it now.
So tell me, like when you go to Bikram,
Oh
is that
yeah,
what you do?
yeah. Well, my place is not affiliated with Bikram anymore.
Okay.
Because he's
Yeah.
got arrested for some scumbaggery. He's he's actually been arrested. I don't think he can come to America. I think that's the
Dang.
thing. I think he's got to like stay in hiding.
That
The
guru
thing
life.
about it, that guru life, that's the problem. that is a problem. It really is a
is.
problem when any one person has that much influence over so many people, particularly a male having so much influence over females that worship him, especially if you're a scumbag. And there's a thing about this. He did not invent those postures, and he didn't even invent that sequence. He brought it to America, and he popularized doing it in very hot rooms. The benefits, though, forget him. Take him out of the equation, because there's so many people that practice it, and they've had incredible benefits from it. It's really unfortunate that it's connected to this very controversial individual, because then people associate Bikram yoga with this guy that's been, accused of multiple sexual assaults and rapes and all these different things. But you take that away from him as a human being, and the people that practice it, what they get from it. First of all, you know exactly what you're going to do every day. There's 26 postures and 2 breathing exercises. 1 breathing exercise in the beginning, 26 postures, 1 breathing exercise at the end. It's 90 minutes. It's 90 minutes at 105 degrees, and it's fucking brutal. And I did it right before I got here. I do it, and I like to do it in the mornings, first thing in the morning. I do it before I've eaten anything. I go through a 90-minute yoga class. I really like doing it that way. And then at the end of the day, I have a couple different places that I do it at. I like to mix it up. But that hot yoga for me is the way to go, because first of all, I know the postures. They all serve a purpose in terms of like helping my body, helping my balance, keeping my flexibility, strengthening my joints. There's so many really positive physical benefits from it. And then two, the meditation aspect of it, because no matter what kind of bullshit I have going on in my life, if I just breathe and think about the exercise, and then, my brain starts racing and I'll forget what I'm doing and I'll start thinking about other shit, but I bring it back, breathe. Just breathe. You're not going anywhere for 90 minutes. You're locked in this room. Literally, the door's locked when the class starts.
Oh, wow.
So I am just breathing and going through these, and I know that I can get through it because I've done it 1,000 times before. Just breathe and get through it. And there's a cleansing of like all your brain. There's like there's residue of like shitty thoughts bouncing around inside your brain, anxieties and fears and regrets and anger and frustration and all this shit that's in your head that just gets in the way of clear thinking. It gets in the way of being able to see things in an objective, beneficial way. And to be able to see things the way other people see them as well. Like sometimes I have this issue, and I think a lot of people do, that I don't see how other people are seeing things. I see how I see things. Right. And then I go, well, okay, let me look at it from their way. Let me just abandon, no, well, they're fucking wrong. That's why. Abandon all that shit and try to look at it from other people's ways. I feel like what yoga does for me is it allows me to be free. It allows me to clean up all my preconceived notions and clean out all my misconceptions and just see things for how they are. And I always feel better. Always.
See, I got to try that.
Oh, it's the best. Especially now that you're on this vegan diet. I'm telling you, you're on that path anyway. The yoga it's just so good for straightening your fucking head out, man.
I always wanted to try the Kundalini yoga.
That's the shit that's supposed to make you trip. Yeah. I've had a bunch of friends do it. They say, my friend Denny, he's done it and had like and he's done DMT too. He's like, dude, it's the same goddamn thing.
That's what
you
he
have
said,
full-blown visions. You have full-blown psychedelic visions. Yeah.
See, that's the thing. When I do like the DMT, I don't have it's weird. I don't have like those
visions.
Okay,
that's because you're doing 5-methoxy dimethyltryptamine. The visions come from NN dimethyltryptamine.
Yeah.
Totally different thing. I've done both.
I've done that before.
You've done NN?
Yeah,
and you have no visions?
No, I have visions. It's kind of like it's just like silly things though. Sometimes I've seen like one time I did it. I've seen like this half, like it was like I awake and I'm in a place and I'm just with these 3 massive beings like tall as a building, and they were like half human and they were half snake, and like I had a snake from the waist down and they were human from the waist up, but had like a snake face.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that was one of the visions that I had.
What do you think that represented?
I don't know, but it was weird because during that experience it was like they were all like all 3 of them were staring at me and they were looking down, and then one of them reached for me, and then I started going up, and then I started going around their body, and then I went around the body, and then as I was going around the body, every once in a while I would see the face of it, and it would like open up like a cobra, and then it would close, but it wasn't scary, it wasn't terrifying, and I went all the way up the body, and it was like I was able to see from another angle, like me up in the body, and then it like opened me up like a flower or something like that. It was weird, and then my trip went like super fast.
So you definitely have had visions.
Yeah, I just can't quite make out like what's it
supposed to be.
Yeah, what's it supposed to be?
I had a bunch of jokers giving me the finger the last time. A bunch of jesters, like court jesters.
I never seen nothing like that, man.
It was ridiculous. They were all like, fuck you, all like circling me, like infinite numbers of.
Gosh.
Basically, the feeling that I got was like, oh, I take myself too seriously, and these jesters were just going, fuck you, like you don't like that. You don't like when someone goes fuck you.
No,
so they were going fuck you, and there was like, but they weren't saying the words, but they were definitely giving me the finger. But there was like an infinite number of jesters surrounding me, going like giving me like this vibrating finger. And I was like, oh, but it was clear what they were saying. Like, hey, bitch, you take yourself too seriously. And then I was like, oh, you're right. And once I would say, you're right, they're like, nod at me, like, mm-hmm.
Oh,
Okay.
See, that's
You
what I
get it.
like. I like to be able to work. Like that's work.
Yeah.
That's work right there. Like you went and you worked
Yeah.
through something. You know.
Yes. I think when you work too hard at something and you're trying to achieve something, like oftentimes you think very highly of yourself. Like that's what you like. I should, my Netflix special is gonna be the shit. This is gonna be the best one I've ever done. I'm gonna fucking show everybody how good this is. And they were like, fuck you. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, you're right. I was like, you're right. This is silly. That's like I'm just alive for a certain amount of time, and I shouldn't think that way. I mean, there's part of you that gets trapped in thinking that way because you're trying to do something, but you don't have to think that way to do the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, like those visions and being able to, like when I did ayahuasca, I didn't have any visions, man. I didn't have anything. Like I got into a pretty good space, but I didn't have like the typical teaching lessons everybody else has when they do something.
That seems like you probably didn't get a strong enough dose.
No, I did. I did 2 large cups.
The thing is with that, and I'm speaking just from people talking to me about it because I've only done the pure DMT. I haven't done the ayahuasca.
Oh, you haven't done ayahuasca.
People say that a lot of these people that are making it, either they're not making it correctly or they're making a light dose because they're worried about gringos going crazy and and they don't want to be responsible for that shit. So I know people that have gone and they've had these experiences where they've done it with someone in America or someone who's done through a more commercial sort of organization, and it wasn't really that strong or profound. And then they went and did it with someone who's real, someone who's making some fucking super high grade, 97 octane shit. And
that's
they were like,
oh,
fuck.
That's what I need because I feel like after that I felt like damn, I must be broke, man. I'm I must be broken. Like I can't even feel the damn ayahuasca. But it brought, like it didn't give me the experience I wanted, but it gave me the experience that I needed. And that's something that I got after I was like over the disappointment of it. I was like, you know what, I didn't get what I wanted, but I definitely got what I needed, because whenever you sit in a circle and stuff like that, it's always an amazing cathartic thing where you just kind of just like shed and just go through those emotions. Just watching other people just be so raw with their emotions and just kind of feeling that, just through symbiosis, you kind of like start to feel like the work come through you. That's how I felt anyway.
Joe Rogan talks about Jim Carrey's philosophical turn.
The funniest guys to me are guys that do characters, but they're themselves.
Yeah.
And they talk real, and that's why, you and Burr, you're the same guys on and off stage. When we're talking, sometimes you get silly, sometimes you're serious.
Right. Just be yourself, yeah. I know what you're saying. Be sincere.
But you can be just as fucking goofy as you want, but don't stay in that.
Yeah.
It's so hacky to me.
It can be. I'm always waiting for someone to do it right. I don't want to pass judgment. Like maybe one guy comes along and he's in character all the time, but it's fucking hilarious.
Oh,
it's possible.
I just watched Jim Carrey on when he did Andy Kaufman.
Yeah,
it was fucking amazing.
Oh, that was the documentary.
No, that sprang from that. But
right.
I was watching the movie last night. I forget what it's called. Something.
Man on the Moon.
Yeah, Man on the Moon.
Yeah.
Boy, Jim's good.
Oh, he's brilliant. You know what's really interesting with him? He's taken like a severe psychological and I guess philosophical turn where he's just thought about life and things. He must have had like some psychedelic experiences too.
I think so. Sounds like it.
Yeah, because he's just talking about like what matters and what doesn't matter. And and there's just a bunch of like interviews and clips of him discussing things where you're like, whoa, like this guy he's not talking like Jim Carrey, the world famous A-list actor who's had gigantic smash movies. He's not talking like that at all. He's like talking like some guy who's just trying to sort of understand his place in the universe.
Yeah, he really is.
Really profound way. He's a very well thought out guy.
Did you watch this thing about him painting?
No.
This came out a couple months ago.
Oh, didn't we play this where some of his paintings are really cool? They're like in neon and shit.
Yeah, but he says some of the stuff that he's been thinking about and dealing with and whatnot.
So it's called I Need Color, and it's on Vimeo.
Yeah.
So folks, go check that out.
Joe, did I tell you about the little part I have in I'm Dying Up Here?
No.
Okay, so I play Fitzy Anderson because they wouldn't let me use Fritzy Anderson. Remember Fritzy Anderson?
No.
Is this thing on? Hello? Is the
your
sound
character.
system working here? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let me.
Why wouldn't they let you do that?
They said Fritzy was a slur to Germans.
What?
Yeah, I swear.
Oh, Jesus
I know.
Christ.
So anyway, I go in the Comedy Store on a Thursday night. Why I was there just to practice. I know, trying a couple lines and doing some shit. And Jim's in the audience. He comes out, he hugs me. Anyway, long story short, he was with his wife, his ex-wife, and their daughter was ill, and she's a great girl. She's a really good singer too, by the way. But anyway, they start talking. He said, "I forgot how fucking funny Dom was." He goes, "I want to put him in this show." And Melissa goes, "Well, I'll tell you one thing. He's not going to dance for you. If you want him, I'll ask him, but he ain't going to audition." He goes, "I'm not going to make him audition. I've known him for fucking 30 years." Anyway, that's how I got the part. Isn't that funny?
Just randomly.
Randomly, he came in to look for young comedians. I am not one of them. If you could tell by my receding hairline, but yeah, I mean, isn't that amazing? I mean, just there on a Thursday night, randomly.
Is that show still going on?
Yeah, we're shooting. They're shooting 10 more. I know I'm doing an alcoholic the whole time, which is.
I never watched it. I watched one episode and I thought it was pretty good, but I heard that it
got better.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that it was improving. That's what I heard.
Well,
all those things started
Yeah,
off
do you remember
clunky.
Seinfeld at the beginning?
I remember News Radio, the show I did in the beginning. It was clunky.
Yeah.
It took a while to really get rolling.
Yeah, to get the rhythm.
Become what it is.
Yeah.
Sitcoms are very difficult. You know, I mean, one of the reasons why people are like, oh, why aren't there any good sitcoms in the air? Well, goddamn, it's hard to do.
Well, this is a serious one. Like, I'm kind of the comic relief on this because it's about like comedians, but not like, when we goof around. Hi, Joe is a frog. And
right.
You don't see hardly any of that. You see them more like jealous of each other, and they're showing the dark side of it. The woman who plays the Mitzi part is Melissa Leo. She won the Academy Award for some boxing movie, I forget. But she's playing Mitzi really serious. And I don't want to say anything, because she's a great actress. But if I were asked to give one note, I would say Mitzi really had a fun side to her. Mitzi, by the way, for those of you that don't know, was the owner of the Comedy Store.
Episode number 1284. Joe Rogan with Graham Hancock explains ayahuasca as advanced Amazonian science.
And I go into the issue of ayahuasca in this book because, first of all, ayahuasca is itself another example of Amazonian science. As you and I and many of the listeners and viewers know, the active ingredient of ayahuasca is DMT, dimethyltryptamine. But dimethyltryptamine is not normally accessible through the gut. We have to smoke it or vape it to get that rocket ship to the other side of reality. And the journey lasts, 10, 12 minutes, not much more than that, and sometimes quite a lot less. What ayahuasca does is it makes DMT available through the gut. The reason it's not available through the gut is because of an enzyme in the gut called monoamine oxidase. And that switches off DMT on contact. The ayahuasca vine, which is one of the two ingredients of the ayahuasca brew, the other ingredient is leaves that contain DMT. The ayahuasca vine contains a monoamine oxidase inhibitor, which switches off the enzyme in the gut and allows the DMT to be accessed orally, which produces a rather different journey from the smoked or vaped DMT trip. It's a much longer journey. It's 4 or 5 hours. It allows you to integrate and to interrelate with the strange landscapes in which you find yourself amongst. And the entities that you encounter, I'm not making any claims about the reality status of those entities, but what I am saying, and it's a fact, is that people who work with DMT and ayahuasca do encounter what they construe to be entities who communicate with them intelligently. So somebody in the Amazon, out of 150,000 different species of plants and trees, selected 2 that are not psychoactive on their own, but when put together, create an extraordinary visionary brew. And ayahuasca means the vine of the dead. And what it's connected to in South American religious and spiritual thinking is what happens to us when we die. The Tucano, who are an Amazonian people who work regularly with ayahuasca, I mean, the Tucano actually will give a teaspoonful of ayahuasca to a newborn infant. They feel ayahuasca is so important that there is a hidden realm around us which we are not normally aware of, and we need to be aware of it. And ayahuasca is an important part of that. In their ayahuasca journeys, the Tucano shamans experience visions, and they will then come back to an alert, normal problem-solving state of consciousness, and they will paint and depict their visions. And what's intriguing, and I go into it in the book, is that quite a number of the Tucano paintings of the other world, of the afterlife realm, of the entrance to the other world, are geometrical, and they look exactly like the geoglyphs. So I'm beginning to wonder whether these geoglyphs were part of a system of spiritual ideas concerning what happens to us after death and what we need to do in this life to ensure a beneficial outcome. And oddly enough, that same system of ideas is found in the Mississippi Valley. In the Amazon, it involves particularly ayahuasca and the belief that the ayahuasca journey takes you to the afterlife realm and a journey along the Milky Way. In the Mississippi Valley, the mound builder sites up and down the Mississippi Valley, particularly Moundville in Alabama, exactly the same system of religious ideas associated with geometrical constructions, that on death, the soul, they're very specific, ascends to the constellation of Orion, transits from the constellation of Orion to the Milky Way, makes a journey along the Milky Way, which they call the path of souls, and encounters challenges and ordeals where the soul must account for the life that it has lived. Then we go to Egypt, and what do we find? The same system of ideas. The soul must rise up to the constellation of Orion. There's a narrow shaft cut through the southern side of the Great Pyramid of Giza, which targets directly the lowest of the 3 stars of Orion's belt. Widely accepted as a star shaft or a soul shaft. The soul would rise up through that shaft, get to the constellation of Orion, which stands by the banks of the Milky Way. It would then transit to the Milky Way, which the ancient Egyptians called the Winding Waterway. And it would make a journey along the Milky Way where it would be confronted by challenges and ordeals. Very similar idea to the Tucano, very similar idea to the Mississippi Valley. As far as we know, none of these cultures were in contact with one another. Either we're dealing with a huge, unbelievable, extraordinarily detailed coincidence involving architecture and ideas, or we're looking at a legacy that was inherited in all of these different places from a remote common ancestor. And I believe that that's what we're looking at.
What do we think the people from the ancient Mississippi Valley, that culture, what do we think they were using if they weren't using ayahuasca, or do we think that's what they were using?
Well, that's an interesting question, whether visionary substances are the only way to get into altered states of consciousness, and I would say they are definitely not. Of course, there are visionary substances which are used in Native American vision quests. I've had the privilege of peyote ceremony with the Native American church.
I've never done that. What is that like?
I loved it, actually. I thought it was amazing. It doesn't overpower you in the way that DMT or ayahuasca does. It's much gentler. It's much more. You feel much more integrated and connected with nature. Your thought processes are quite clear. It felt just like a very beautiful and healing experience. And I loved the ceremony that I'm inside a teepee with 30 or 40 other people, and that there are specific roles that are assigned to those different individuals. One will keep the door, another will be responsible for the fire, which is a work of art in itself. Just gazing into that fire and the glowing embers is enough to induce an altered state of consciousness on its own. Incredible drumming, which drives your state of consciousness into a kind of peak experience. This is a technology for accessing other levels of experience and other levels of reality. And it's clear that the Native Americans had a number of advanced technologies in this area. The sun dance doesn't use a substance, but it uses austerity, it uses pain to drive an altered state of consciousness. The objective in every case seems to be, let's just for a while get ourselves out of the narrow, rigid frame of the alert problem-solving state of consciousness. We all need that. It's incredibly useful. Hunter-gatherers need it just as much as people in cities need it. But it's not the only state of consciousness available to human beings. And maybe that's one of the big mistakes that we're making in our culture, and was not made in shamanistic societies.
Episode number 1522, Joe Rogan with Rob Lowe discuss DMT as a gateway to another dimension.
As a sober guy, there's part of me that wishes, because I liked mushrooms, but only like once or twice a year because it's so fucking fun, and you get, like you said, you get all that stuff going.
Yeah.
But
I did them last week.
How was it? Did you laugh a lot? Because all I did was laugh.
Post Malone and I did a podcast. We did mushrooms.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we had a good old time.
But how long were you tripping?
Well, the podcast was 4 hours long, and we were drinking too, so it was like just madness. It was all just like mushrooms. I could feel the mushrooms, and I was getting high too. He wasn't smoking pot, but we were drinking Bud Lights, and it was a lot of chaos.
This is like exactly what my 80s were like. but I think about people go and do ayahuasca and do those. That really appeals to me.
That's different in that, you could call it a drug, but it's DMT, which is what ayahuasca brings up.
Right.
That's what it's the active ingredient. You're still you. You're not drunk. That's what's weird about it. Well, I don't know what it is, but if you wanted to get real woo-woo, you would call it some sort of a chemical gateway into another dimension or to another realm that you can't access without it. It doesn't seem like a drug.
But how is it not any different than I got stoned and I saw crazy shit?
Well, first of all, it's endogenous, right? So your brain actually has this chemical inside of it. It's one of the more interesting things about this drug is that your body knows how to process it so well. Like if you do coke, right? Like I'm sure you're coked up for a long time, right? Your body's all fucked up for a long time. Dimethyltryptamine only lasts like 15 minutes.
What?
Yeah, your body recognizes what it is, so it brings you back to baseline very, very quickly.
So if you do this, it's a 15-minute experience?
Yeah, the ayahuasca takes longer because ayahuasca is an orally active version of it. So what ayahuasca is the roots of one plant and the leaves of the other. So you have DMT in one plant, and in the other plant you have something called an MAO inhibitor. MAO is monoamine oxidase, and that's produced by your gut to break down dimethyltryptamine and a bunch of other chemicals. But it breaks down dimethyltryptamine because dimethyltryptamine is in a bunch of different plants. So you could trip just eating phalaris grass if you didn't have monoamine oxidase in your gut. So when you eat this if you ate the grass, nothing would happen because your body would break it down. But if you had an MAO inhibitor, then you would trip balls.
Well, and then the other thing that people talk about with is like, I vomited for 5 hours.
Yeah, that's the problem with ayahuasca. You're going to blow your asshole out. You're going to diarrhea, throw up. It's disgusting stuff. I don't
want to do that.
It's also because you're getting the plant. You're getting all the stuff that's, not the active ingredient from these roots and these leaves too. And then also your body's freaking out.
What did you have you ever had any awakening or vision or?
I've had a lot of visions on dimethyltryptamine. Yeah.
Anything that once you were done tripping, that didn't seem like the ramblings of a madman, or was there stuff that you were like, oh wow, I had a revelation?
It's hard to say. They all seem impossible to describe to anybody else, other than people that have experienced it. But what it does make you realize is that how the thing that I always felt when I came back is like, how is this possible that you could go to a place like this where you could see something that's way more vivid and way more powerful than regular life? Like whatever it is, it's not like it's dull and confusing and you feel drugged and you feel less. You feel more. You see more. It's more vibrant. It's more powerful. And whatever is over there seems to know you. It seems to understand. It seems to be you're communicating with something that's far more intelligent than you, far more advanced, and not hindered by all of the things that we're hindered by, like our egos and our nonsense and our insecurities and our civilization and culture. It's like it's some sort of other kind of consciousness, and it's they joke about things. They make fun of you. Like one time I did it, and all these jesters, like this, like a geometric pattern of gestures, like a fractal, like infinite gestures, were giving me the finger like this. Fuck you, like mocking me. And the message that I got was that I was taking myself too seriously. Like maybe even like while like my intentions going into the trip, I was taking myself too seriously. Wow. And I remember relaxing on, oh, okay. And they're like, that's right. Like they're nodding their head. Like, yes. Like it was a message. Like, hey, stupid. You know, you take yourself too seriously. Fuck you.
Fuck you. I like
and it
fuck
was
you.
gestures, like with a hat and everything.
So in your life now, like let's say you are stressing out about something as very seriously, you do the fractal gestures. Do you remember them? And go, oh yeah, I had this.
Very, very.
But you know what I mean?
barely.
Like it. You bring something back that you can practically use in your this dimension, this time.
Humility. There's a humility that comes from real psychedelic experiences that you just because you know that they are possible, it makes you second guess the significance of regular existence. Because it seems like whatever that might be where you go when you die.
Okay. I was waiting for the moment. So
I don't know if that's what it is.
Episode 946, Dennis McKenna explains the chemical differentiation between mushrooms and DMT.
Speaking of mushrooms, this is something that I get wrong all the time. This is one of the other things I wanted to ask you. What is there's some very close relationship that mushrooms have and the absorption of mushrooms have to DMT. What is the chemical differentiation?
Okay, very, very slight, actually. The temptation to start drawing structures is almost irresistible.
You want to write some stuff down? Go ahead.
Well,
draw it down.
no,
It'd be awesome. Here's a pen.
Do we have a visual?
No, we don't.
component
But
to
I'll
this?
save that piece of paper.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get too far into it, but basically, okay. So, you've had organic chemistry, yeah?
No.
No. Okay. Well, then this may
I
be
am organic chemistry.
Yeah, you are. Well, you are organic chemistry. Well, this may be a useless thing, but
it's definitely not useless. Here we go. We can see it up on the wall here. We've got it up on the screen.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, we don't have to draw a structure.
You can look at it right here, so you don't have to turn around. Look to your right, Dennis. Turn and look. It's on this one as well.
Okay. So right. So you can see so there's serotonin, psilocin, and dimethyltryptamine.
Wow.
You can see that psilocin and dimethyltryptamine are very close in structure. The only difference is that hydroxy group, that OH group.
That's the only difference. So with that removed, psilocin is exactly the same thing as N,N-dimethyltryptamine.
That's correct.
Wow.
But that single trivial difference is what makes psilocin orally active and dimethyltryptamine is not.
Wow. Wow.
Because what's going on with that, the static diagram deletion, a different molecular model would show. But what's going on is that nitrogen there, when psilocin's in physiological solution, the nitrogen is charged, has a positive charge. The oxygen doesn't have the H there. It has a negative charge. So the nitrogen curls back and is in close association with the oxygen, if this makes any sense.
Yeah, no,
so the enzyme can't get to it. That's why it's orally active, because essentially it can't get to that nitrogen. What that enzyme does is cleave off that nitrogen, monoamine oxidase. It takes away that nitrogen. And it can't do it with psilocin. So that's why psilocin's orally active. It doesn't require an MAO inhibitor. It's just, in some ways, it's the perfect psychedelic because it, no preparation needed. You just bend over and pick the mushroom. No preparation is required, which is probably why very ancient man knew about psilocybin. They couldn't not have if they were living in an environment where it was found.
Episode number 1366. Joe Rogan and Richard Dawkins debate heaven, death, and psychedelic experiences.
And hope of an afterlife as well.
Yes, and that is the purpose and meaning, right?
Yes, I suppose that's right. Yes, I think that's right. I can understand why people might want to believe a priest who comes along and tells them you don't have to worry about death because you're going to survive it. I'm less understanding of people who make up stories to comfort either themselves or other people. I mean, a made-up story should not be comforting. I don't understand how a made-up story can be comforting. Of course, if you make it up and persuade somebody else, then they could find it comforting. On the other hand, is an afterlife really all that comforting? When you think about half of them believe they're going to go to hell, so it's anything but comforting. And also, even if you're not going to hell, if you're going to heaven, eternity in heaven, I mean, sitting in heaven for not just billions of years, but trillions of years. I mean, these are time spans beyond our comprehension. How unbelievably boring it would be.
Would it though? I mean, I don't know. I enjoy life, but if I had to live my life over and over again, infinitely, if I had an infinite number of this exact lives, I don't know how I'd approach that. In the moment, I can enjoy it.
I could do with maybe 200 years, but after that, no. I mean, I think that eternity is what's frightening about death, and eternity is best spent under a general anesthetic, which is what's going to happen.
Right, Gonzo, out go the lights. Maybe,
yeah,
or maybe not. Have you had any experience with psychedelics?
No.
No. Do you have any interest in that?
I've been offered to be accompanied on a trip by a very nice woman friend.
Yeah.
And I've never so far dared take her up on it.
How come?
I asked advice of a cousin of my father who's just recently died, who was a major expert on psychedelics, and I think he was the one who introduced Aldous Huxley to mescaline, for example. And he judiciously advised against. He said that the horrors of a bad trip are so awful that he wouldn't advise somebody to go into it. My friend who's offering me this trip says it would be a relatively low dose, and she would take another low dose so she could kind of accompany me.
Yeah.
And stop me jumping out a window or anything.
Well, there's so many stories in so many ancient religions that seem to originate with the consumption of some sort of a psychedelic.
Yes.
And, there's many, including John Marco Allegro's The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross.
Jesus was a mushroom.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's some, you could see the connection if you were a primitive person with no access to science and you found some mushroom growing under a tree and consumed it and had this unbelievable experience. You would assume that you've transcended this life and gone into this other realm where God exists.
I once thought that I would try a psychedelic when I was on my deathbed.
That's it. But what if it was amazing and you're like, I could have gotten so much done with this if I had tried this out when I was 30.
Yes, maybe you're right. Yes.
I don't think anybody should do anything. I mean, I used to encourage people to do things all the time. Now my thought is do whatever compels you, whatever you feel like it. But I would think that a person like yourself, who has this sort of rigorous belief that the lights go out and then that's it, I would think that would be attractive to just at least dip your toes in.
Yes, yes. Well, don't you think the lights go out?
I don't know. I don't know. I've had some pretty profound psychedelic experiences that make me wonder what thoughts are and what consciousness is and whether or not there's some way that it transcends.
Well, I wonder what consciousness is, but it's pretty clear that it's to do with brains and brains decay, and so I wouldn't hold out much hope if I were you.
Well, you might be right.
Yeah.
You might be. Well, certainly consciousness does have to do with brains, and we know brain damage severely perturbs consciousness. Yeah. But there's some interaction with certain chemicals, and that makes this experience far different than what it is when we're on the natch,
I
as
believe
we are
that,
right now.
It's still brains, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Still brain, but that's it. Reductionist.
Nothing wrong with reductionism.
Nothing wrong with it.
No.
Not saying there is.
Episode 1284. Graham Hancock say psychedelics make ideology meaningless.
That is a really interesting breakdown. That maybe that is one of the big mistakes we're making in our culture. When people point to the problems that we have in this country, one of the problems we have is our inability to connect with each other, or to recognize that we're all sharing this space and time together, and instead wanting to uphold our own religious or ideological ideas as being the only one way to get going, the only one way to get through. And one of the things that I've found with these psychedelic experiences, it really makes ideologies seem, if not preposterous, at the very least insignificant in comparison to human experiences.
Absolutely.
The experience of camaraderie and friendship and love. You realize, like, oh, this is what's important.
This is what it's really about.
Yes, not enforcing your ideas or pushing them on other people and forcing people to behave the way you behave, but instead love.
And think about religious ideas, which cause so much division, so much chaos, so much hatred, so much fear, so much suspicion in the world today. Is it really what we want to do as human beings? Simply to accept a package of ideas that were believed in by our ancestors, to accept them whole, without question, as absolute fact, which we regard as such authoritative fact that in some cases we're willing to be deeply unpleasant to people who hold different views, or perhaps even kill them. We've had this recent event in Sri Lanka, primarily a religiously motivated terrorist event. It happens all over the world, that people feel so convinced that the inherited package of ideas that they had nothing to do with creating and that they have never questioned, they're so convinced that those ideas are right that in extreme cases they're actually prepared to kill other human beings who hold different ideas. Are they so insecure in their own beliefs that they're prepared to go to that level of actually murdering another human being who holds it? They're so threatened by the other beliefs that other human beings hold. So it's an abnegation of our responsibility as human beings. We should be questioning things. We should not be accepting packages of ideas intact, fully formed, and using them to drive the way we behave towards one another. That was part of the human story, but we need to move on from that. I mean, it's a very dangerous situation in a very complex modern world with billions of human beings on the planet to have these kind of energies being generated where certain groups of people are saying, we are absolutely right and you are absolutely wrong. We are superior, you are inferior. This is a very, very dangerous path that we're on, and it needs to be changed. Personally, I know this is not a comment that will go down well with many people, but I am strongly opposed to nationalism. I don't see any virtue in nationalism. It is an accident of birth, which nation you were born in. It was nothing that you did for your own merit. You didn't earn that. You were born by accident in a particular nation. Why should we automatically feel that other people who were born by accident in that particular nation have something special in common with us and that we together are a group who are much more important than other groups of people? I've been privileged to spend my life traveling around the world, living with communities all over the world. And one thing that really comes across to me strongly, it should be a cliche, and yet it's not, is that we are all one family, that humans are intimately interconnected all around the world, that you can go to the remotest area of the Amazon jungle and find the same hopes, the same fears, the same dreams that we have in industrialized cities shared by the hunter-gatherers in the middle of the Amazon. So our similarities as human beings and what we share in common at the emotional level and at the level of love and at the level of heart are far more important than our differences that are defined by the nation or the political group in which we grew up in. And when I say I'm against nationalism, I need also to make clear that does not mean, and I hope I'm not taken out of context by others who are listening to this, that does not mean I'm in favor of world government. I detest governments. That's another thing we need to grow out of. We don't need governments anymore. If we have them, they should have a very minimal role in our society. I think it's possible for the human race to relate as one family without leaders and governments who are exploiting the worst aspects of our character, the lowest common denominator of our society, deliberately encouraging fears and hatreds and suspicion. What responsible leaders should be doing is encouraging love and unity, and their failure to do that, in my view, disqualifies them from the leadership role entirely. And that's why I've often said I would like to see a situation in which no head of state can be appointed to that position unless he or she has first had 12 sessions of ayahuasca. That would be the condition. Don't even bother applying for the job if you haven't done this.
And we have to be there where you have it.
And we want to see that you're drinking every drop. Yes. And we want an experienced shaman present who's really going to guide you through the journey. And I suspect that would be a transformative experience for many of our political class, and that they would start to question why they do what they do, why they exploit fears in order to magnify their own position. They'd start to question that and to wonder about a different destiny for humanity. But that's a dream. I guess it's not going to happen.
It's very, very, very well said. said.
Episode number 1615. Joe Rogan with Hamilton Morris explained terrifying 5-MeO DMT death experience.
Like so many things that Terence McKenna has said, it's both true and untrue. I think it's untrue in a literal sense, but very true in a poetic sense, because the historical, cultural context of a drug is part of what you bring to that drug experience. The molecule does not contain information. The ketamine molecule does not bring an experience to you. That is something that is generated in your brain by your consciousness. And so if you have a new substance that has no cultural associations, then maybe it was like that for
him. So you
him.
Don't have expectations.
You don't have expectations.
Right. That's a big part of it, isn't it?
It's a huge part of it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I made a piece in the new season of my show about 5-MeO DMT containing toad venom. And there's a big controversy in the toad venom community, which, believe it or not, is a community. And they are purists.
Are they friends with the opiophiles?
Oh, definitely not. No, they don't like the opiophiles.
So what does the venom community think?
They think that this venom has some spiritual component derived from its association with the toad that makes it better than synthetic 5-MeO DMT. Now, I've analyzed several samples of toad venom, and before 5-MeO DMT was made illegal in the United States. And in terms of what you find if you inject it into a mass spectrometer, 5-MeO DMT is the only psychedelic that's present. In some samples, there might be trace quantities of another psychedelic called bufotenine, but it's a minuscule amount of a less potent molecule. So predominantly you have 5-MeO DMT, which is likely the strongest naturally occurring serotonergic psychedelic. And for conservation purposes, it's necessary that people stop milking toads because it's become too popular. Mike Tyson's talking about it all the time. It's like, it sounds ridiculous. Like Mike Tyson could have an effect on conservation, but if a celebrity says they like something, that can have a tangible effect on the environment.
I know people who have toads for that very reason, because Mike Tyson talked about those toads. Now they have toads, and they milk these toads.
Oh, yeah. I mean, me too. I talked with a billionaire who flew a private jet full of toads to Greece to create a private toad sanctuary.
Wow.
And I saw photos of it. Yeah.
Wow. How many toads has he got?
In the photos, it didn't look like that many. It didn't look like a jet full.
5-MeO DMT does not strike me as something that you'd want to do a lot. It's so terrifying. That's probably the most terrifying experience I've ever had on psychedelics, because I ceased to exist. Like, it's the one drug where I feel like when I took it, I wasn't there anymore. I was gone until I came back. Like, I felt like I didn't have thoughts. I didn't have... I knew I was experiencing the 5-MeO DMT realm or whatever it was, but I didn't... There was no context in terms of... I didn't realize I'm on my couch sitting at home. Like, I was gone. There's no visuals. It was just this white, sort of pixelated, like grayish white, gone world, and it was terrifying because it felt like death. It was the one thing that felt the most like, oh my God, like now I'm not here anymore. But coming back from it, I think it was very valuable. Like, as I was returning, I remember thinking so much about the bullshit way in which I talk. I remember thinking that, like, God, so much of the way I would communicate was not just me trying to get my thoughts across, but me trying to say things in a way that would be impressive, or in a way that would be flowery, or, try to make it look like I was more intelligent than I was, or whatever. But I remember, like, remembering that, like, really clearly, like, wow, I gotta clean up the way I talk. So I'm full of shit. Like, thinking that as I was trying to figure out how I was going to describe this experience, I was realizing as I was thinking, like, God, I got to figure out how to describe this. Like, boy, I talk like I'm full of shit. like, so there was value in that. But I did it a few times. I think I did it 3 times. But it was terrifying every time. Terrifying. Like, while you're gone, like, while you slip away, I remember just thinking, like, whoa, this is not good. This is not good. Like, you feel like, oh, my God, I fucked up. Like, I really died. Or I really stopped being here. And it also makes you think, like, maybe this is going to the light. Maybe this is what they talk about when they talk about going to the light when you die. Like, maybe you're having this kind of experience because it's really disturbing. But then pretty peaceful when it's over. Like, I felt pretty good when I came back. But the concept of giving away all of my control of reality like that, for some reason, DMT doesn't scare me as much.
It's a totally different drug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Experientially, chemically, it's, psilocin is closer to DMT than 5-MeO-DMT is. Mushrooms are closer, chemically speaking.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that it defies description in a different way than other psychedelic experiences do. With something like DMT, it's difficult to describe because there is such an abundance of imagery and thoughts and associations that it's extremely difficult to communicate that to someone. With 5-MeO-DMT, there's nothing. And that's also difficult to communicate, that you white out and there is an absence of everything completely.
Yeah. Do you find it terrifying?
I have found it terrifying, yes. It's very, I had a very profound experience with it in 2017, and I have no real desire to use it again.
Yeah, that's my thought too. It's like, I'm not going back there. I'll go back to DMT. I'll go back to that.
Oh, me too, because it's just a different drug entirely. And I think that DMT can be integrated into a normal life much more easily than 5-MeO-DMT. Actually, I credit DMT with I talked about the sort of COVID denial that I had at the beginning of the pandemic, where I was, I can't stop making my TV show. We're all going to get it anyway. We can't just stop working. We can't shut down the world. We can't stop flying. And then I smoked DMT and had this image of MC Escher's angels and demons, but instead of angels and demons, it was pangolins and horseshoe bats.
Whoa!
And came out of it and thought, of course I feel horrible. Of course this is depressing and confusing. This is actually one of the worst things that has happened in my lifetime, and I just have to accept it now. And I felt so much more at peace. It just stripped away the denial, and I could just say, all right, this is happening. And
so you were just wrestling with the reality of having to shut down.
Yeah. And kind of, I resented some other people on my team who, in retrospect, were behaving in a way that was completely rational, where I was thinking like, oh, come on, we're not going to go on this shoot.
Right.
Really? But they were right and I was wrong, and I had to stop.
Episode number 1733. Ron White shares life-changing ayahuasca journey.
Well, do you want me to tell you about the ayahuasca experience?
Oh, yeah, sure. Do you remember? How much do you remember?
Well, I remember how I found out about it, which was weird because it was a friend of mine's wife. But I'd heard that ayahuasca word before, and so I knew a very, very little bit about it. So then I started kind of researching it. What is it? Where does it come from? It's a strong hallucinogen, which I've always had a tendency to like anyway. So I thought it sounded like it was right up my alley. But for a long time, you had to get on a canoe, and go down and find a corrugated tin shack and sleep on a dead floor, and so it wasn't very appealing to a lot of people. So the guy that opened the place, he had money, and he said he bought part of a JW Marriott beach resort. Well, he bought their overflow area, which was not on the beach, but in the jungle with a big fence. Fucking howler monkeys, the most useless animal in the world. They scream at the top of their lungs. Other monkeys must just hate them. Can you tone it down a little bit? Howl. So I thought, well, I'll sign up for that, and I'll use that to get off liquor, because a lot of people do come away from there with a different perspective, right? Which I did. And but then I was honest with them about how much I drank, and they go, "Oh no, you can't come here. We don't want you coming here and getting into DTs. We're not a detox facility, and we're not set up for it. So you have to have 14 days of sobriety before you come here." And I'm like, fuck, right? I don't know if I could do that or not, because I was drinking so much. Wow. And then I knew about this guy. There was a hypnotist in Marina Del Rey, I think, is kind of where that's not it. It's whatever, one of the coastal towns down there. And my assistant, Anthony, had worked for a guy that had a lot of problems and went to this guy and quit all of them. And so I'm like, well, I could go over there and see how that works. So I went over there, and his office was in his garage. He was the least impressive human being I've ever met, and they had a brown wig that was on crooked, and I don't know if that was part of it, that you get focused on, dude, what's up with your wig, and that maybe got you off beat a little bit, and then he had a tall glass of water with no ice in it, and he took these little tiny sips out of it. Now, I don't know if that was part of the setup or not, but the garage thing was like a velour recliner that had to have been 30 years old, and it wasn't well kept or anything, and so I sat in there, and then he just talked about, you know, kind of what was going on with my body and all this liquor that I was pouring into it, and kind of like how your heart and your lungs and your kidney like to work together to keep you living. And I've had an all-out assault on all three of them for 50 years, and you know, whatever. And so he got through with the first session, and he would put me under, and I would go under, that's for sure, and because he would have to snap me out of it. And I was just sitting there, conscious of everything he was saying, but in a whatever hypnotic state, for sure. So he was good at that. And obviously, it was kind of weird because he said, imagine you're on the 22nd floor of a building and you're getting on the elevator. And it's kind of weird because I live on the 22nd floor of a building. He didn't know that, but odd. And so I finished the first session. He says, okay, don't quit drinking. I'm like, great. I like this program. So I came back, and I thought maybe it was 4 sessions over a period of a month. And so, but after the second one, I quit drinking, and I was just waiting for the shoe to fall. You know, I was waiting to start getting sick off of not drinking, and it didn't happen, and it really didn't bother me not to drink, and it was set up for as soon as I was finished with that, I'd go straight to South or whatever that pill I took, Costa Rica, and I checked into this place, and it was really, really nice. You can go, where you can share a room with somebody, which they recommend that experience with somebody you don't know, but I didn't want to do that. So you can also get your own room, and it's not overly expensive compared to rehab in Malibu, you know, which I repriced at $100,000 for 30 days.
What?
$100,000.
Really?
$3,000 a night, and they recommended a minimum of 30 days, and that was on the street I lived on in Beverly Hills, up at the top of it, and so this is like, you could do this for like, if you shared a room with somebody, for like $1,800 for a week. And mine was like $5,000, but I had a nice room, and it was, you know, a really nice place. They cooked all your food, and it was healthy, but it was really good. You know, it was no soda pops, no alcohol, no, you know, a lot of shit I wouldn't advertise if I was trying to get people to go down there. And but, you know, pineapple juice and coconut water, fucking great. And so you get down there, and you had a group of about 50 people, I think, was in our group that were, and everybody has their own room, but then there's this one space where everybody gets together for this experience of ayahuasca. So there's 50 mattresses on the floor that have, you know, really nice sheets and pillows and blankets, and they're on the floor, and it's very ceremonial in that, you know, there's a guy, a shaman that looks like a shaman, feathers and shit, and you stand in line with your little cup, and he gives you a cup of this mud, awful tasting stuff. And I did mine, and I just talked to him like he's a regular person. And I said, so what do you do? And he says, well, outside there was a bunch of hammocks. It was a beautiful space. Really couldn't have been any better. And hammocks all around. He says, go out there and sit in a hammock, and whenever you need to, when it's time, you just come back in. I said, how do I know when it's time? He goes, oh, you'll know. I was like, okay, all right. So I took my ayahuasca and I went out there, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of like mushrooms a little bit. I felt myself coming onto it, and then I opened my mouth, and the entire forest poured into it. And I'm like, that's probably the signal right there that it's time to go in. I think I get it. So I went in and I laid down on my my bunk. Now, some people throw up on it, so you have a puke bucket too, but some people get the shits. I got the shits. Vomiting's way better because you can vomit from your bed. But if you got the shits, you got to get up and find someplace. There's bathrooms, a lot of them. So, but I never thought I'd see people throwing up in a bucket and go, lucky. I wish I was throwing up, but I got the shits. And so I laid down and I tripped so hard, and it was really dark. And they said lean towards the dark side. So if there's a rainbow and a unicorn, and then there's a guy you don't understand in your yard, go towards the dark guy in the yard. Don't hop on the unicorn and jump over the rainbow. Go the other way. And don't fight it. Just let it happen. But I think I just struggled with it the first night. And I was getting really distorted images of people's faces when they got close to me, and I was tripping so hard that I was like, my head was itching, and I just couldn't figure it out, how to make my head stop itching. And I thought about scratching it, but I wasn't exactly sure how to use my hands anymore. And somebody walked by, and I asked them to scratch my head, and they're like, yeah, sure. Like this. Yeah. Oh, that's it. That's good. And I really thought towards the end of that I wouldn't do it again, because I just didn't see the benefit of it. It scared me. It didn't scare me, but it wasn't pleasant at all. Like it wasn't like mushrooms, and it wasn't like acid. To me, it wasn't. And you could almost see somebody's skull when they were too close to you, and I was just wanting it to be over. And the beautiful thing about ayahuasca is it is over. I mean, it only goes for like 2 hours, and when it's done, it's done. And so they time it so you can do more. You can do all you want, but not past a certain point. And then it's at one point they turn on the lights and go good morning, and it's over. You can't just go home, go back to your room, and go to sleep real fast. But it's over. All those things are gone. It gets out of your system completely, so fast. And then there's music, there's live band, or people in congos and guitars and shit. So it's funky. And some people were, even while I was in my wildest point of this trip, they were up just dancing around the room. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how are you doing this? I don't understand. And so I thought, I think that's about enough, right? And then by the next day, once I got out of it, and then people were kind of sit around and share their experiences and whatever, and I was into the whole thing, and I was really trying to surrender myself to the experience. I was trying to do what they were asking me to do, and get the whole ride. And so the next night I went in, and it was a different shaman every night, and he gave me about half a cup. And I said, the other person gave me a whole cup of this. And he said, yeah, the mother ayahuasca said to give you the night off and tone it down for you. And I don't know if he talked to the other guy, and I don't know why he said that. But so I took that dose, and I went outside, and I sat and I noticed it had been a while, and it started coming on to me. And I just felt this overpouring of love. I mean, it was just amazing for everything. I felt it just filling my body with just love and happiness. And so that night, I was really just digging on the music, got up and danced. Everybody wears white, and I didn't know why at first, but that's so they can't see you. They can see you sneaking off to your room to get some smokes, because they busted me doing that the first night. I was like trying to creep away. I'm like, I didn't know you could smoke out here. But so that was great, and afterwards, I really felt a just deep connection to the whole place. It felt like this was, a journey that was, designed for me, because I just felt wonderful about myself, about decisions I was making, about the direction I was headed in my life and all this stuff. And then the next night was a bigger dose, and I went back and got a bigger dose and went back and got another dose and just rode it out and fucking loved it. And it was really just that first. And he said that the first night was kind of a death, and the second night was kind of a rebirth. And I'm like, okay, all right, whatever. So the last night, you started at like 7, I think, and it's over at 12:30. That experience, and then the last night, you start at 5 and it goes till 10 o'clock the next day. So you do smaller doses, but you do them all night long, and that was really groovy for me. But this one chick completely wigged out, and I mean kicking, screaming, yelling, really unpleasant. And they had to take her outside and tie her up before she hurt somebody. God. And I thought, why aren't these guys wigging out over this? Because I am. Because it looked like she was going to hurt somebody or hurt herself, and they were having a hard time controlling her. And she didn't even know that it was an ayahuasca place. She thought it was a yoga place, and her husband signed her up for it. Now, she had done ayahuasca 3 other nights and was fine, but this time she just fucking lost it. And so they took her outside, and they just bound her up, and they stayed with her. And but here's the thing. When it's over, it's over. And even though everybody was really concerned about her, she came back in with the biggest smile on her face. And she had some demons, and she needed to work through it, and it was horrible. And I know what it was that happened to her because they told me, and it was awful, awful, awful.
So some stuff from her past.
Some stuff from her past. Horrible, I won't even say it.
Yeah.
And so she went from who knows what, in what place she was in, to the biggest smile I've ever seen. And she worked through whatever it was. And and then I met some friends down there. They got married the next morning. We'd been up all night and, some ceremony thing. But I was just into it, And then Jeannie, my girlfriend, came out, and then I was going to stay for 2 weeks, and I decided not to. So I'm going to go back another week and do it again.
When are you going to go back?
I don't know. I haven't decided. My schedule's so packed now, I can't even find a spot for it. And then I'm going to do stand-up for 1 more year, and then I'm going to retire.
Episode 1133. Dennis McKenna discuss ayahuasca, telepathy, shared visions.
From the animal level to the plant level to the fungal level, you find these things everywhere. And people say, well, there's about 150 species of plants that contain DMT. That's only because we've only looked at 150 species of plants. If you look at these large genera that are famous, known for having tryptamines, like acacias and mimosas and these things, we know of a few species that have DMT, but there's hundreds of species, thousands of species. It's just that nobody's looked. Nobody's going to fund this work. I think you can reasonably say that, there are about 1,400 species of acacia in the world. Probably 75% of them have DMT. And actually, I would go to the next, I would even claim, without evidence, that's never stopped me before, but I think it's reasonable to suppose that because DMT is so close to mainstream metabolism, probably all plants have DMT to some extent. Most don't have large levels of it. They don't have useful amounts of DMT. But if you took, with sufficient instruments, if you just started randomly sampling plants and analyzing for DMT with a mass spec, I'll bet it would turn up in almost everything.
What is is it Phalaris grass that's toxic to sheep because of DMT?
Yep, that's the one.
So the DMT in it, for whatever reason, the way it interacts with the sheep's digestive system, it becomes poison?
Well, no, not entirely. I mean, it's got, Phalaris grass has DMT, it has 5-methoxy-DMT, other tryptamines. It also has something called gramine, which is it's like DMT with only one carbon on the side chain. Gramine is more or less toxic. Gramine shows up in a lot of grass species. That's probably the thing that causes what's called Phalaris staggers.
So if you just fed DMT synthesized to sheep, it wouldn't be toxic.
Hard to say.
Do they produce monoamine oxidase?
Nobody's done it. Do sheep?
Yeah.
Of course.
So do leopards or jaguars.
All mammals.
So when you see those jaguars eating the leaves and then tripping their balls off, rolling around on their back, what do you think is happening there? You've seen those videos,
yeah,
I'm sure.
I've seen those videos. Well, for one thing,
Fascinating, right?
they're eating Banisteriopsis, right? Which is the source of the MAO inhibitors.
Oh, okay, right.
And I don't know what to make of that. It certainly does seem like some kind of a catnip for them, and causes an altered state for
MAO
sure.
inhibitors in and of themselves, they produce some sort of a psychedelic experience?
They can. Not just from the MAO inhibition, but they often have other effects that are psychoactive, like harmine. Harmine is a good example. We used to think that harmine was basically, it's the MAO inhibitor in ayahuasca, and it doesn't do a whole lot beyond that. Well, it turns out now harmine is getting a second look. And it's interesting that harmine, was discovered in Paganum harmala about maybe 10 years before ayahuasca was ever reported to science. So harmine is one of these hoary old alkaloids, I like to call it. It's been known forever, and now we're just finding out it has all sorts of interesting pharmacologies. It's an MAO inhibitor for sure. More importantly, it appears that it stimulates neurogenesis, and that's relevant to Alzheimer's and brain development and even Down syndrome. It is an inhibitor of this kinase, this regulatory protein called DYRK1, which has got its fingers in lots of different cellular pies, you could call it, many different regulatory functions, and harmine is a very potent, very selective inhibitor of this kinase. So that relates to this, it actually stimulates nerve growth in the hippocampus. So, we're finding out that there are a number of other receptors that it interacts with, including serotonin, dopamine transporters, even one called the imagiline receptors that are, of undefined functions. So, like most natural molecules, it's not a one-trick pony. Harmine has a number of effects, and that's why taking ayahuasca is a different, that's why it's not a pure DMT experience, because you've got a whole mixture of alkaloids that are contributing to that effect.
Who were the researchers that, when they discovered harmine, they didn't know what it was, and they tried to label it telepatine till they realized that it was harmine?
Right. Well, yeah. This is part of the what you may call the sad and sordid history of ayahuasca in a certain way, because in the early days, in the 20s, when people are looking at it, a number of independent groups were working on it, and they were isolated molecules. They weren't aware of other people's work. And so they misnamed these things, I can't tell you exactly. I think initially it was Louis Lewin who discovered harmine, and he called it banisterine. And then it turned out, another group years before had isolated the same molecule from Paganum harmala. And telepathine was one of these misnomers, that came out. The problem with this was that back in the day, people didn't collect voucher specimens. So a lot of this chemical work was done without the benefit of herbarium specimens, which now everybody that wants to do phytochemical work hopefully has the good sense to collect specimens of the original plant so that people can go back and look at that. A lot of this early work was reported, and there was no voucher specimens to document the collection. So a lot of it had to be dismissed. The beta-carboline chemistry of Banisteriopsis didn't really get well defined until some Chinese scientists, or at least they had Chinese name, worked on them and discovered harmine, tetrahydroharmine, and harmaline as the main alkaloids. They could reference that to botanical voucher specimens, so they really should get the credit for discovering it. And then once that was done, then it was known, and other scientists had to acknowledge that.
Why did they describe it as telepathy? There was supposedly some sort of a story about some group telepathic experience.
Yeah, this was just romantic. This was just some story, out of the literature. Yeah, I mean, it was rumored to be able to cause telepathy.
But this wasn't ayahuasca. They were only taking harmala?
It's not clear.
It's not clear.
It's not clear. Yeah, I mean, they may have been taking it, but whether they were getting telepathy, I kind of doubt it. But we know we could get telepathy on ayahuasca. It's not so uncommon. It happens all the time. People have group hallucinations, group visions.
Has anybody ever bothered to independently sequester people, put them into different rooms, have them do ayahuasca, and then have them describe a very similar experience or almost identical experience to prove that these telepathic experiences exist? Or at least to...
As far as I know, that hasn't been done.
Yeah, because everybody wants to talk afterwards. Like, oh
right.
my God, did you see the dragon?
Right. I don't think that's been done.
That seems like a worthy study. Because if I've heard from more than one person, in fact, my friend Kyle Kingsbury and his wife had an ayahuasca experience where they both had a visualization of their child, and then when they got back, she was pregnant, and they wound up having this child from their visualization, from this experience. Obviously, they're very close, and they were together, and they probably communicated quite a bit. And I would just think it would be a really interesting experiment.
It would be very interesting. I mean, and that sort of points out there is, a realm of experience, a realm of knowing that these things give access to that's normally closed to us. I mean, that's kind of a trivial statement, of course. But then you get down to questions of how verifiable is that? How real is that? How, and people get, I don't know if the term is hung up, but they can get baffled when you start talking about, the reality of, say, the entities you encounter on DMT. I mean, this is some people I know are obsessed with trying to verify the reality of the entities that you find on DMT. And again, it comes down to if you experience them, they're real.
Yeah.
If anything you experience is real because you've experienced it, does it have a corresponding existence in the external world? Well, what's external? What's internal? We throw around these terms, these epistemological, metaphysical terms quite carelessly, without really thinking about it. What does it mean when you say, I'm in here and you're out there? And then you take a psychedelic and you realize that's an artificial boundary. We're all one. There is no separation.
It's separate in normal consciousness, though.
It's separated in normal consciousness. But then what is normal consciousness?
Right.
If not a reflection of your neurochemical brain state? I mean, everything you experience is an altered state because it's filtered into this brain, processed by the brain. And, the brain is a biochemical engine that, as I say often, we're made out of drugs.
But it seems that our normal consciousness is the best state to propagate biological life and to keep our whatever we've created in terms of our community structures and relationships and friendships and the ability to build structures and houses and things like that. All these things are done best when you're here and present. Whereas when you're in a psychedelic state, I agree with you. Well, the way I've always described it is if you had a meeting with God and you went and God gave you all the answers to the world and you experienced undeniable beauty in the most extreme form possible where you couldn't have imagined it, and then you came back, whether you hallucinated it or not, it's the exact same experience.
Exactly.
You can't put it on a scale. You can't weigh it. You can't, like, we've stretched the tape measure around, and God is 47 inches across. Like, just because, you know what I'm saying? Just because you can't measure it with what we term our metrics for reality.
Right. And that is exactly the thing. Don't worry about whether it's real in the way we would define real. Is it good information, or is it bad, or is it not? That's the thing.
Yes.
It doesn't matter where it comes from.
But it's such a...
If it's good information, then it has its own internal validity, and whether it came from some part of yourself that is normally obscure to you, or it came from the plant teacher or the aliens transmitting it through, it doesn't really matter.
But we are obsessed with that. We're obsessed with reality. Because we think we're being fooled a lot. Right, and this goes back to Terrence's La Chorrera psychedelic experience, where he had a UFO encounter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the easily dismissing amongst us would go, well, he's tripping his balls off on mushrooms. Of course he saw UFOs. Was there a leprechaun driving the UFO? Like, all that's nonsense.
Right. Easy to dismiss.
Yes.
And in fact, that is the nature of these phenomena. That's what's really interesting. Easy to dismiss. You know, and that was another aspect of the experiment of La Chorrera I left out when I was talking about my lecture, but there's almost always an element of absurdity in these experiences and in paranormal experiences and UFO encounters. It's like, little green man? Come on, are you kidding? But what the fuck? There are little green men, you know, and little blue men. You know, a guy you should... have on this show, maybe you have already, is Whitley Strieber.
No, I haven't had him on, but he's so out to lunch. I have massive reservations. There's a video of him looking at a fly, clearly a fly, flies in front of a camera, and he's describing it as, this a man in a suit? And it's like there's something wrong with him.
Well, I missed that. I missed that part.
I think
what's interesting about Whitley, and I agree, I totally dismissed him, you know, for a long time. I thought, you know, he is really a nutcase.
He's from the Communion books, for people who don't know. He
Exactly.
wrote a series of books about being abducted and, you know.
But I sort of had to change my opinion somewhat because he and Jeffrey Kripal, who I do know, Jeffrey Kripal is a professor of comparative religion and mythology at Rice University, and his focus initially is sort of on the superhero as in contemporary mythology as a mythical figure and that sort of thing. He and I was invited to a workshop that Whitley was going to be at. This was a couple of years ago in Hawaii. Well, I'm always interested in a free trip to Hawaii, right? So I said, I'd like to come to this thing, but this guy is a nutcase. I'm not sure I want to appear on the same stage with this guy.
Right.
And if it's me saying that, you know he's a nutcase. and the guy who was hosting it said, well, did you know that he and Jeffrey Kripal wrote a book together? And I said, no, I don't. I said, I know Jeffrey Kripal. I know that he's not a nutcase, and that's interesting. And then I found out about the book, and I said, I told the guy, if you invite Jeffrey and Whitley, then I'll come and we'll participate. The name of the book is Supernatural, 2 words, Supernatural, A New Vision of the Unexplained. And it's really very interesting. The book is basically, alternating chapters. Whitley tells us stories about what happened to him, what has happened to him, what continues to happen to him. He lives in some kind of alternate reality. I get that. I mean, I don't know if I accept it, but I get it. And then in alternating chapters, Jeffrey comes along and kind of unpacks this and explains, where does this fit into sort of the phenomenology of mythology and, reasonable explanations. And it's a fascinating book. If you just suspend disbelief for a minute and think about, assume that Whitley is sincere. I don't think he's lying. I think that these things really happened to him, or he thinks they do. And some of the most craziest things, these are not, the media has made, like everything, they dumb it down, and they put it into the box of alien encounters, guy's a nutball, and they dismiss it. But if you take a closer look, one thing to Whitley's credit is he doesn't claim to understand what's happening. He doesn't call it an alien encounter. He doesn't claim anything. He just says, this is happening. I have no friggin' idea what this is. So that's honest, that's an honest scientific stance. I do not understand this phenomenon, so I give him credit for that. And then he and Jeffrey wrote this book. There was a very interesting, later on, so I read all this. Later on in the book, there's a chapter where they get to what is the possible physical explanation of what's going on here, if there is a physical explanation. And one of the headings, I think one of the headings in the chapter was labeled "The Soul as a UFO." And that kind of blew my mind. That got my attention because, when I did this workshop with them, I was kind of bringing the flag of psychedelics, right? And I was saying, if you don't address psychedelics, you've only got part of the picture here. And they were talking about how the soul, how this could be some sort of a physical plasmoid type of thing. They were invoking, scientific terminology. I don't know if it was legitimate or not, but just the idea of the soul of a UFO. And I was able to respond to that and say, well, the experiment at La Chirura was essentially the blueprints of how to build one of these things that you're talking about, which it was really this transformation. And so that impressed me. I don't know what to make of it, but I think there is, and they don't really know, nobody knows what to make of it, but I think there are just odd things going on. But that some people experience,
yes,
and whether they are actual encounters or dreams or somewhere in between, I'm not sure. But it would be good. I mean, I don't know. I mean, when you meet Whitley, have you ever met him?
No.
He is like the most drab person you can imagine. I mean, he's like an accountant or something.
Probably worn out from telling all these stories.
Probably worn out. Yeah, could be. But
he was a fiction writer.
He was a fiction writer.
Yeah,
that's
and
true.
then he comes out with this incredible real world story that reads like fiction.
Right.
And there's obviously something off. When you talk to him or you hear him, and I've never talked to him personally, but when you see him in interviews and conversations, there's something off.
Yeah.
Now, what is that something off? Is it a psychotic break? Is it something that drifts in and out? Is he having problems with normal consciousness? I mean, I don't know what it is, but
I'm really
see if
not
you can
sure.
find that video of him talking about the fly. Did you find it? He thinks the fly is a man in a fucking spacesuit. And he's like, is that a man in a suit? What is that? And I'm like, oh, Jesus, this guy's out to lunch.
Call the men with nets, right?
There's quite a few of those. There's quite a few really bizarre videos of him where you're like, he's having a hard time with normal reality. So, which would make sense during the dream state, because all these things are happening at night, right?
Right.
And this is the big thing that the big problem I've always had about these UFO abduction experiences. First of all, they all take place when someone is either at night, it's either they're on a dark road where there's no one around and they're sleepy, or they're at home in their bed. Like the vast majority of them take place at night or while someone's lying in bed, which is exactly when you're dreaming. Right?
Yeah.
Now, we don't totally understand the dream state, but there's there's a connection, at least an implied connection between psychedelic chemicals that your brain produces endogenously that could be released during the dream state and in different levels with different humans. I mean, obviously some people have problems with producing serotonin and dopamine, and then other people have no problems with it. And the biology of the human brain varies, right?
Right.
So it's not without it's not without possibility that there's someone who has a real issue with these chemicals just busting through and flooding their system.
We know there are. We know there are people.
But then does this contradict?
We call it mental illness.
Yes.
You know?
But then does this contradict what we've already said about psychedelic experiences? Like, why would we diminish his endogenous psychedelic experience if that's what he's having? I mean, it is entirely possible that you're dealing with someone who maybe perhaps does have some sort of psychotic breaks, but also is experiencing psychedelic experiences due to some endogenous DMT dump or dump of whatever. And all these things are taking place at the same time in the dream state during heavy REM sleep. And he's coming back with these uniform stories of alien abduction.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's hard to parse it out.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I accept it all, but
it's easy to dismiss, but maybe you shouldn't, right?
Well, there maybe is something there. We should approach it in the spirit of, here's a phenomenon.
Right.
We don't understand it. We shouldn't dismiss it. There's something to be understood here. Not necessarily his understanding of it, but something to be looked at there. And I thought this book was interesting for its balance, you know. I would not have Whitley Strieber on your show without Jeffrey Kripal on your show. That was the thing, because it would be fun. And maybe it's, maybe it's a bridge too far. I'm not sure.
Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe we get to the bottom of this thing.
Yeah. Well, is there something to be got to the bottom of it? That's the question.
Is there a bottom at all?
Is it just one man's delusion, or is there really something at the base of it?